Good evening, everyone. It is 6:31, so I am going to call the Tuesday, January 7th meeting of the 2025 meeting of the Superior Common Council to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councillor Ledeen. Here. Councillor Van Sickle. Councillor Moffett.
Here.
Councillor Sweeney. Here. Councillor Fennessy. Here. Councillor Elm.
Here.
Vice President Ludwig. Here. Councillor Herrick. Here. Councillor Johnson. Here. President Grasky. Here. We have a quorum. Item 4.1 is the approval of the December 17th, 2024 regular council meeting minutes.
Motions by Councillor Elm, second by Councillor Herrick. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries.
And item 4.1 is a report from Mayor Payne.
Just very briefly, councilors, we were having a conversation upstairs because with Superior Days coming up, anybody that's planning on going to Superior Days, I brought some travel authorizations with me tonight. I'm going to ask councilors as much as possible before you travel this year to fill these out in advance. That's the standard that we apply to all of the staff. It is city policy, and it just helps our accounting better so we know what you plan to spend. Obviously, there can be some changes along the way, but if you're going to Superior Days, at least fill these out. But, well, just stop by after the meeting. And while I was on the subject, I brought some blank ones as well because it's a new year. We've started the new budget, the 2025 budget year, which means you have a new travel budget. And, you know, it's also eval time for me and the staff. And I'm in the habit in their evals, the department heads especially, of encouraging them to travel. Every department has a travel and training budget. So do you. And the reason for that, I feel very strongly about it. It's a critical part of training and learning your job. You've heard me give this speech before. You will hear me give it again. But Superior is a very long ways away from other cities our size in Wisconsin. And it's very easy for us to get isolated and just not know how things are working in other places. The most common question for new policies in committee is, what are other cities doing? I'm encouraging you to find out. So I know a lot of you travel already, but with the new year, I wanted you to think a little out of the box. Obviously, there are some great tested trips that you can take. The League of Municipalities Conference is great. Obviously, we're all welcome at Superior Days. I welcome everybody to the Congress of New Urbanism every year. But think about any kind of professional conferences. Even it's worth thinking about if there's policy work that you want to do, particular departments you're working with a lot on your committees or in the initiatives you want to pursue. Consider attending those professional conferences. You'll feel a little bit like a fox in the hen house at those, but you will learn a great deal. It's the joke I had in my mind is attend the Fire Chiefs Conference. It will be weird for you, but you will learn tons of stuff about firefighting at the Fire Chiefs Conference or the Firefighters Conference. We'll send you to do that, and because it's an actual investment in making you better at your jobs, and we would expect you to bring great ideas from other cities back to the city council and implement some of these real policies. Some of the best things we've ever passed have come from other cities, and you got to kind of go there to see it. Typically speaking, the council budget is designed around if you needed to fly somewhere, each of you could fly, and generally one place, continental United States. I am very unlikely to approve you flying to Europe or anywhere, but let me make the pitch, but or driving. You can take 2 or even more trips driving depending how far you're going, but most things in Wisconsin are a long way. Any questions about that? Of course, I can answer them afterwards. Okay, that is my report. Let's start questions.
All right, item 7.1 is the business of the Human Resources Committee with a meeting held on December 16th. Is there a report from the chair?
Councillor Van Sickle told me that Councillor Sweeney will be delivering the report, the vice chair.
Thank you. The report from the chair we're recommending.
Your light, please, Councillor.
Thank you. Number 1 recommendation is approve the 3% wage increase for all non-union employees. Any questions?
Would you like to take that item first?
Yes,
Councillor?
please.
Okay. So your motion is to approve a 3% wage increase?
Motion is to approve, correct.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
The motion is by Councilor Sweeney, second by Councilor Johnson, to approve a 3% wage increase for non-union employees effective January 1st, 2025, so it will affect the next paycheck. The record will reflect Councilors Van Sickle and Herrick have notified me of their abstention on this vote. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries.
Number 2 is approve the change to the non-union salary and benefit policy handbook. And number 3, we can put that with number 2, is approve the pay grade change for the Park, Rec, and Forestry Director position.
Councilor Sweeney has made a motion to approve both recommendations. Is there a second? Second. Second is by Councilor Johnson. Discussion on either of those. Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries. Thank you, Councilor.
Item 7.5 is the business of the Public Safety Committee with a meeting held on December 19th. Is there a report from the chair?
Just a couple things at the last public safety meeting. From the minutes, you see updates from the police and fire department. Currently, the police department is looking to upgrade a software system, go to something called Urban SKD. This software collects data from vehicles, cell phones, translates it into traffic analysis. Goal here is to hopefully identify safety issues, road traffic patterns, average speeds, some things along that to try and identify some of the problem corridors in our area. Fire department has submitted qualifications for the construction of Station 2. We will be looking for those. On a lighter note, Toys for Tots was talked about. A great turnout. 700 individuals were able to participate. Like I said, a great program put on by the fire department. As far as the action item that you see before you, this was brought before the committee by Councilor Ludwig, receiving some concerns from citizens about an intersection that it had some issues. Upon further looking into this, we had seen there's probably about 6 accidents at this intersection over the last year, 2024. So it was the recommendation of the committee to put a 4-way stop there and see if we can try and alleviate some of those issues. So if there are no questions, I will move to recommend the recommendation from the Public Safety Committee.
So motion is second, but the clerk, if the clerk would please read the ordinance.
The recommendation is to approve an ordinance amending City Code Chapter 112, Traffic Code Schedule A, stops to add North 18th and Cumming Avenue as a 4-way stop.
There was a motion by Councilor Ledeen and a second by Councilor Ludwig to approve the ordinance. Is there discussion? Councilor Ludwig?
Yeah, I just want to thank the Public Safety Committee for listening to the concerns of my constituents. When I get calls from constituents that there's a, car in their yard almost hitting their house, and so I just want to say thank you for listening to the concerns. And by the way, the day after, on December 20th, the day after we made this decision, there was another accident on that corner. So hopefully this 4-way stop alleviates that. Thank you.
And councilors, as we approach the bridge closure, there are quite a few traffic changes that are changing traffic patterns in neighborhoods pretty significantly. Obviously, I know you're going to listen to your constituents as they have concerns. When folks start raising a problem, just talk to the chair, the members of the Public Safety Committee. Get it on the agenda for discussion. It's always okay to just talk about it. You don't have to come to the solution right away. But there's going to be a lot of changes over the next couple of years. I know particularly as that bridge closes, there's going to be a lot of traffic in the Billings Park neighborhood that wasn't there before. It's already happening. So we're always going to take that stuff seriously. And just know, even in a stop sign that lasts for a couple of years need only last for a couple of years. We can always take it out later. So thank you all for your work on that. Is there any further discussion on the ordinance? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carries.
Item 8.1.1 is the business of the Plan Commission with a meeting held on December 18th. Is there a report from the chair?
Yes, this we did not talk about the zoning code, or at least not much, at this Plan Commission, but we still used our full 2 hours. A lot of it, I'd encourage you to go back and watch that meeting, was on a discussion about vacant buildings in our commercial spaces, as well as trying to fill vacant residential housing. And so that was an interesting discussion, and I encourage you to listen to it. There's several relatively routine business, though some exciting small business grants on here. The only thing I want to call your attention to, when we get to the two resolutions, which are to set public hearings, we need to change the date. The Plan Commission and your agenda, I believe, recommends the 18th of February, which would be the council meeting. But with the filing deadline today, we know there will be a primary in Wisconsin for school superintendent and Supreme Court, or just superintendent?
So far, just superintendent.
Okay, well, there's going to be a primary, and so we typically do not have council on election night. So when we get to the resolutions, I'll ask you to just approve the public hearings for the 19th of February, which would be our council meeting. Any questions about anything on the Plan Commission? If not, I'll have the clerk walk us through it.
First recommendation is to approve a small business grant application and development agreement for Matson Accounting doing business at 1627 North 34th Street.
The motion is by Councilor Fennessy, second by Councilor Moffitt. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries.
Item number 2 is to approve a small business grant application and development agreement for Rick's Auto Body doing business at 1703 Broadway Street.
The motion is by Councilor Grasky, second by Councilor Sweeney. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carries.
Item 3 is to approve a resolution to set a public hearing to consider amending City Code Chapter 112, zoning map, and future land use map exhibited in the 2040 Comprehensive Plan for the City of Superior related to property at 6200 East 3rd Street from suburban to PDD Planned Development District.
Okay, the motion is by Councilor Fennessy, second by Councilor Moffitt. Is there objection to amending this as it appears in your agenda to change the date to the 19th instead of the 18th of February? Hearing no objection, that amendment is carried. Any further discussion on the resolution? Then all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries.
Item 4 is to approve a resolution to set a public hearing to consider vacating and discontinuing of the certain alley and street referred to in the resolving clause of this resolution and providing for a public hearing thereon.
Motion by Councilor Fennessy, second by Councilor Grasky. Is there objection to changing the date of this public hearing to the 19th of February? Hearing no objection, that amendment is carried. Any further discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carries.
Item 8.1.2 is the business of the Redevelopment Authority with a meeting held on December 18th. Is there a report?
I'm not aware of a report. Anybody there have a report? I don't think so. This, along with the previous, one of the previous zoning changes, the previous zoning change from the Plan Commission, all relates to the eventual development agreement and construction of the Lake Superior apartments. So, what is your pleasure on this resolution?
Motion to approve.
Motion is by Councilor Herrick, second by Councilor Elm. Discussion. Councilor Herrick?
No, I was just going to say, if you get a chance, if you haven't, look over that information that was sent in your packet. There's a lot of interesting information that will help you see what's going on with that development.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries.
Item 8.2 is reports without recommendations. At this time, are there any further committee or commission reports to be made?
Councilor Grasky, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to brief quickly on the Public Art Commission. So we met on the 12th. We came to a consensus that the January 1st original deadline for the next proposals would be better suitable for our arts community by changing that date to March 1st, 2025. I think it reflects a lot better, a lot less busy in people's lives, and maybe that opportunity or creative thought can come forth. And also at that meeting, we decided to dedicate $2,000 to enhance our marketing efforts for this specific round to make sure that people are still finding out information on this new opportunity or new grant opportunity, basically investing into social media, state art platforms, and print media that we'll distribute through our region. I do want to remind this council too, as you'll be meeting with your constituents and you'll be at events and things around town, you might be inspired that this art program, or excuse me, the public art grant program provides a one-time grant ranging from $1,000 to $10,000 to artists, artistic teams, creatives, makers, performers, art organizations, and other cultural drivers to enhance and increase public art opportunities within the city of Superior. If anyone has questions up to March 1st for me, please let me know. It'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further commission or committee reports or questions? If there are none, we can move to our new business.
Item 10.1, I'm recommending approval of miscellaneous licenses.
Motion is by Councilor Herrick, second by Councilor Ledeen. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carries.
Item 10.2, I'm recommending approval of a resolution to temporarily change the poll site location for the February 18th spring primary election for the 5th and 7 aldermanic districts, which is Precinct 3, to the University of Wisconsin Superior Yellow Jacket Union.
Do you mind introducing this briefly?
Yeah, I'll introduce this a little bit. This poll site usually meets at the Northwoods Tech Conference Center, which is about across the street-ish from the Yellow Jacket Union. They are unfortunately not able to host us because of the date this year. And the good news is that they've been able to promise all of our election dates through 2029 after this date. So after working with UW West, verifying that this space is very close for voters to head over if they do show up at Northwoods Tech. It has the same great ADA accessibility, and UW West has been really welcoming to make sure this works for us.
And as I'm sure you saw, if you looked at the packet before, councilors, you know this was amended, and originally we were looking at the Bowling Center. It's a great polling location, but you know, the clerk did a really great job in kind of hunting down the Yellow Jacket Union, or a UWS site, very quickly, because which will work much better. Always a risk of confusing voters, that if you've been voting at Northwood Technical College for years and years and years, and then suddenly you have to drive across town, that could dissuade people from voting. So now they only have to walk a few feet away on Pleasant UWS campus, and even if they think it's there permanently, that was another concern, that they might think it's permanently moved to the Bong and then drive there in the next election. But now it's all in the same basic space, and folks will come back, so I don't think we're going to bleed a lot of voters here on this. What is your pleasure on the resolution?
Second.
The motion is by Councilor Herrick, second by Councilor Johnson. Councilor Johnson.
Will there be some signage available to put up at the Northwoods? I figured there would be. Okay.
Yeah, we'll be putting up signage at Northwoods to make sure anybody
Excellent.
who does show up at that door. I've also thought about getting some bigger, one of those 10-foot flags, vote here at the Yellow Jacket Union. And we're also going to have a couple extra election workers to be at that entrance, and then also help remind people as they take off from voting. Remember, this is, so we're trying to figure out the best ways to make sure that's communicated.
Councilor Ludwig.
Yeah, what about parking? Because I know, parking can be a little bit intimidating, especially for our residents, when they know that, oh, I need a parking tag. So how are we going to deal with that?
UWS has offered, we're going to have 8 dedicated spots for parking. They also have really great handicap accessible parking, including 2 van accessible spots that are right next to that entrance. So I'm really glad that they're going to give us some dedicated parking. And so we'll be making some signage, and our facilities team will help make sure that they're really marked for this is for voters. So that's good news.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Since you brought that up, Councilor Ludwig, it's probably, we've had the discussion before when we had, I forget what it was. Oh, it was the homecoming parade where we suspended permit parking. You'll remember, in the area. We'll probably do that as well for Election Day. So help remind me. Any further discussion on the resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries. And we have 3 folks signed up for public comment. I'm going to call up Madeline Amala, and while that person is coming up, I will explain our public comment rules. Members of the public have 3 minutes. It's a hard rule. I will remind you when you get to 30 seconds from your deadline. And you can otherwise address the council on anything like, but 3 minutes only, so I have to enforce that pretty strictly. So if you don't mind telling us your name so we get pronunciation correct, and I will start to 3 minutes.
All right.
Welcome.
I'm Madeline Emila. I live in District 8, and I'm here as a concerned citizen as well as a licensed realtor. So residents of Superior were recently notified of lead water lines affecting our community, and were provided a map to see if our home contained lead lines. I was told there's no plan, timeline, or funding in place to address this. And I'm sure you guys know, but lead exposure can lead to headaches, vomiting, seizures, high blood pressure, premature births, poor brain development, and kidney damage, among a slew of other things. So besides the obvious health concerns of continued lead exposure, I think this is going to negatively affect the saleability of homes in Superior. The residents have been notified of the lead lines, and therefore this information has to be disclosed to any potential buyer when the home goes on the market. So my home, for example, the owner responsibility side is not lead, which is great, but the utility responsibility side is lead. And I did reach out to Superior Water, Light, and Power to see, what the plan was. They said there's no plan, no timeline. And I said, okay, is that something where as a homeowner I can foot the bill on that just to get it taken care of? And they said no. So in my situation, I have to now disclose that there are lead lines here and that these new buyers are just stuck with it. They have no control over addressing that. So on the other side, if there are lead lines on the owner responsibility side, Superior Water, Light, and Power stated that they don't have an idea on cost estimates for owners to address that, and they don't have a timeline or a plan for getting those numbers. So to ask, if I have a potential buyer saying, hey, you're going to have to take on this unknown financial cost, that's a huge risk. Are we talking $1,000? Are we talking $10,000? That's going to make a huge difference to a lot of people. And a lot of people aren't going to take on that risk, and I don't blame them because I wouldn't either. So my concern is that without a plan or funding to address these issues, folks are going to choose to purchase homes in places like Duluth. Duluth also has these same issues, but they also have a plan, a timeline, funding. They're providing filters for residents until their homes are addressed. And I am licensed in in Minnesota as well. And I can tell you from personal experience that Duluth having a plan in place has put potential buyers at ease. I've spoken to Superior Water, Light, and Power on 2 occasions. I was told both times someone would call me back with more information. Have not heard from them. I did also reach out to my city council rep, Mike, about these. He returned my call promptly. So, Mike, where are you? There. Thank you very much for that. I love Superior. I love living here. I want to see Superior thrive in all aspects. At a minimum,
That's 3 minutes.
Oh, darn.
Thank you.
Motion
Please
to suspend the rules.
prioritize it.
Motion to suspend the rules and allow an extra 3 minutes if she'd like.
Would you like another 3 minutes?
I need 30 seconds.
The motion is for 3 more minutes, made by Councilor Fennessy, seconded by
Second.
Councilor Herrick. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor of an extra 3 minutes for this speaker, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries.
Okay, thank you. So at a minimum, Superior residents need to be provided with water filters specific for lead at no cost until this issue is addressed. Not everyone can afford to purchase these filters, and they still deserve access to clean and safe water. I'm asking you take this lead water line issue seriously and prioritize putting an action plan into place immediately, and then also to advise residents of updates as they come, even if they're small. So thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sue Haver. While you're coming up, councilors, I have to ask, we extended the first speaker's time to 6 minutes. We have 2 more speakers signed up. Do you want to extend both of their time to 6 minutes? Is there a motion to extend any further time right now? Motion by Councilor Herrick, second by Councilor Fennessy to extend the remaining 2 speakers to 6 minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries. Ms. Haver, you have 6 minutes.
Oh, very good. My name is Sue Haver, and I'm in District 5. My concerns have been with the increase in property taxes. In particular, mine went up like 33%. I did receive that notice of the changed assessment. I think that was August 13th of this year, and I think my fair market value had like doubled. I did read somewhere in that letter, and it said the impact, you will not automatically pay more in property tax. So I kind of settled down and I thought, well, okay, this will be good. Also, I realize that the school levy has been increased drastically also, which I believe is set by the state, and mine did go up almost $500 on that. That whole thing, it resulted in like an $800 increase in my property taxes all at once. I have talked to Mayor Payne, to the city assessor, Terry Johnson, and to my city councilor, Brett Fennessy, and just to kind of try to understand, how this came about and why it was such a huge, increase, like all at once. I totally was not prepared for that. And I did find out that my last real estate reassessment was done in 1999, and that was a year, after I bought my home, which, would be like 25 years ago. And it's my understanding that, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but reassessments should be done every 5 years. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I got that information, somewhere along the line. So I guess in summation, I'm trying to just understand and get information to, I realize taxes can fluctuate, but how this huge amount, came about being. And I guess what I've come to learn, it's in part because of the school board levy, again, set by the state. The real estate, reassessment, which brought my fair market value up to date. So, and my question, I guess, is why has no assessment been done since 1999? And I think had this been done, I think my taxes would have probably gone up gradually and not taken this huge, increase. I also have questions as far as whose responsibility it is to see that these assessments get done and not, let them go. I would think it would be the city of Superior, and I don't think it should be up to us as citizens to, remind them that they need to do this. And I guess that's part of my angst too, is I'm not, really knowing why the ball was dropped, why that wasn't done. And I kind of, it's almost like I feel like, I'm being like penalized for the city not doing its job of doing the reassessments, so my taxes could have gone up gradual rather than shot right up. I mean, I was totally not, prepared for that. So I guess I was talking to people, I just want to gather information so I can better understand how and why this happened. And I would like to thank Mayor Payne for returning my call, and the city assessor, Terry Johnson, for returning my call, and Brent Fennessy for returning my text messages. That was very reassuring, and I probably got the most help from you, Brent, because you kind of broke it down as far as what happened, with the taxes. But I'm going to remind you in 5 years to come and do one. I'll tell you that much. Thank you.
The final speaker we have signed up is Jeff Monahan, who will also have 6 minutes.
Well, good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. Happy New Year to everyone, and thank you for being here and showing your pride in our city. When I was growing up in Superior, my grandmother used to put me in a high chair on Belknap, and I would sit there eating Cheerios watching all the cars go past on Belknap. It was one of my favorite things to do. And I was an easy kid to babysit because I could occupy a lot of time just looking at the cars and fire trucks and police cars going past. So as a little kid, I had a very big interest in cars. And when I look to my future, I would like to own a Volkswagen camper bus someday. The ID Buzz is now on the market. It's an electric vehicle but there's no electric charging stations in Superior that I'm aware of. And so I just want to encourage the council and the city fathers and mothers here to consider some kind of network or infrastructure that could improve our city, not only for residents, because I know you can put a charging station in your home, but also for the tourists who will be coming through. My thought is the Bong Visitor Center, or where the old stockade used to be. There's places along the waterfront where people could, pay per use, plug their car in, and for 2-3 hours or whatever, charge their vehicle and recreate in Barker's Island or something like that. So there's some creative ways that we can serve the public and our fellow citizens by putting in some electric charging stations. And I have to say this one thing. I currently work in the electrical industry, that's pun intended, and I drive for a living, so I enjoy driving, and I just think electric vehicles will be part of our future in our country, and I'd like to see Superior step up to the plate and provide some charging stations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak in public comment? Okay, hearing none. Is there any further business from the council? If not, we have no further business and are adjourned. Good evening, councilors.